Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome to another special release of Investor Stories. On this installment, the experts discuss a startup that they did not invest in, why they passed, and if there was a key learning that now informs their approach. Here's the segment called Why I Passed. On today's special segment, we have Sune Shirota of World Innovation Lab. Sune, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass? A story about a startup that you passed on?
Yeah, one company that I've passed. So I actually traveled together with this company, not naming this company, to Japan to discover the market opportunity there. And this company got a lot of interest from the audience. And so we did a conference inviting 150, 200 CTOs. And the CEO talked about their product, and we prepared small group meetings. And vast majority of people said, okay, this is great. And it's a developer-oriented software company, but the price of the round was very expensive. And due to that, I passed the opportunity to invest. And thereafter, the company is now 4x higher valuation and rounds of up rounds and all that. And, I did not believe in what I saw. Okay, it's real. The needs are real. And just thought too much about the entry valuation is one example I can share with you.
I thought you were going to say that you made all the customer introductions and then the company ended up taking money elsewhere. At least it wasn't that.
Yeah, at least it wasn't that. It's on my end or on our end.
On today's special segment, we have Rob Go of NextView Ventures. Rob, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass? A story about a startup that you passed on?
You know what I always say? VCs love to talk about companies they pass on. I prefer the phrase chose not to pursue, because who knows if they would have gotten there with us, right? Had we actually pursued it. So I think that is an important distinction. I remember meeting Katrina Lake from Stitch Fix. It was a very random meeting. We were like in the Weston lobby, and she was just finishing business school, and she showed us this box of clothes, and I just didn't get it. I completely didn't get it. And it just seemed like a horrible decision, a horrible idea. And, I didn't think twice about it. And, it's a public company. She's a pretty good CEO, it turns out. I learned a couple lessons. One is don't trust my intuition on markets I know nothing about. That's number one.
That's good.
Number two is there are a few investors that if they're in, just say yes. Steve Anderson is one of them. Josh Koppelman's another. We also passed on Ring, which similar rule. Like if Josh shows up with an investment opportunity, just say yes.
On today's special segment, we have Neil Sequeira of Defy Partners. Neil, can you tell us a story about a good or a bad pass? A story about a startup that you passed on?
Sure. A bad pass, because those are always the ones that you look back on and say amazing business, but you made a terrible decision. Early on, I had a wonderful when we opened up the office here for GC, had a wonderful young partner, and he identified a company called Patreon, and the founder was so authentic. He was a performer. Jack was a performer, and he believed that community wanted to support their artists, and he believed that they would do that via tipping and via things that were completely orthogonal to anything that a regular business person would say made sense. And I remember showing up in the Mission at his house and going up the steps, and there's a few developers, and saying hello and meeting him and realizing that he was a special person. He was truly part of the community. He loved what he was doing. He wasn't in it for the money. He wasn't in it for he really wanted to change the way artists were compensated, and they wanted to build a relationship with fans. And a long time ago, I'd been in the media business, and I kind of understood where he was coming from, but couldn't bridge that gap between a really outlying idea of how people would connect and pay and be willing to compensate their favorite artists with what looked like a business model that didn't have a lot of foundation to it. Right? It was not clear, and so we just kind of let it sit for a while and simmer and didn't get aggressive about following up on the deal and ended up saying, hey, this isn't something we can get comfortable with at the time, and it's gone on to just create an industry in a lot of ways and create a new way of people approaching and creating a business. There's a trust and authenticity that the founder had that artists connect with. And that is probably the biggest regret, is that was evident from the start, right? Was that he knew everything about that business and that type of people and everything about it. And I didn't. And you have to kind of put your faith that because he was so authentic, that he was going to figure it out. He was going to reinvent how people could create art and still live a good life or be successful. And lesson learned, when you run into people like that, you write them a check and you figure out that they're the people you need to support, regardless almost of what they do, because nothing is as important to them as actually helping others and building a new business that didn't exist when they started.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.